All right, we are now joined by a very, very special four-time recurring guest. Friend of the pod is Eric Arditti. You can read him on barstoolsports.com. You can hear him on the Exit 52 podcast. You could see him in the center field bar and during select, Orioles games. I might be missing some other, sensory things with him there, but he's my guy, and I always love having him on. Eric, how are you?
Good, good. I appreciate you having me on again. It's always a blast coming on and chopping it up with you.
Oh, you're the man. So it's such a fun time in Orioles baseball right now. We were just talking about the game. They're playing the Red Sox tonight when we're taping this. But I wanted to take it back to last week. I was traveling during this, but I made sure to catch up on the Orioles' appearance on the Yak. Barstool Chicago, the day they spent on mostly sports, doing the Yak Gauntlet. Did they say at the end, did I catch this, that you had a role to play in setting this up, or might have been the guy to set that up?
Oh yeah, so again, they were in Chicago, and I had been talking to Colton and a couple of the other guys, and I was like, hey, I was like, you'll be in town this week, and I know, a lot of the guys are Barstool fans, and just either know Big Cat or know Coach Doug's or what, they consume Barstool in whatever way. And I was like, yo, if you guys want to go in like to the office for a tour, let me know. I know guys don't have a day off, so it may be hard to, 4 games in 4 days or, in Chicago. So it's not going to be the easiest. But I was like, if you guys want to go in, let me know and I'll get you in. And Colton was like, that would be awesome. He was like, I think it'll be like me and Stowers. And at first he said Mountcastle, and he said, Adley said maybe, which is like 98% no. And then he said, and Gunnar and Westberg. And I was like, yeah. And Colton goes, is that too many guys? And I was like, dude, bring the whole fucking team. They want everybody there. So, I hit up Big Cat and Evo and a couple of the other guys. And I was like, hey, is it cool if they roll through on Friday morning? And I said, I don't think they're going to do like any shows or anything. I think they just kind of want to see and hang for some and, the door. And they were like, yeah, fine. Like, tell them to come, whatever. So, I coordinated it with Colton and Big Cat and Spider and all those guys, and we were able to make it happen. Again, I had no clue that they were going to be on Yak or mostly sports or do the gauntlet. But what a pleasant surprise that was. I watched the Yak every day. That may have been one of my favorite episodes. And then talking with Big Cat afterwards, I sent him a text and I was like, thanks for having them on. That was awesome. And he was like, no, thank you. Like, that was incredible. And when Colton makes the robbery, the Friday night game, he texted me and he goes, yeah, I need Colton's number. This guy rocks. Like, this guy is incredible. And I was like, yeah, he's perfect. So that was really cool to me. And again, they really enjoyed it, and they had a good time. So that was fun to watch them live out. Like Stowers was like, dude, I've read Barstool forever. Like, this is such like a dream come true for me to just be like hanging out with Big Cat. So pretty cool experience for them, for sure, for everyone.
Yeah, it was so cool just watching them just like chop it up with everybody. I think you're right. During the game, was it Cowser or somebody just screamed the Yak during the mic'd up part?
It was after Gunnar hit that home run, and Cowser was mic'd up, and he just started screaming the Yak in the dugout. So yeah, they were fired up, and again, I mean, all the guys performed since. Gunnar had the home run that night. Cowser had the game-ending catch on the robbery. He had the home run yesterday or 2 days ago, I think. And then Westberg had a double that night. He had a home run yesterday or the other day too. So it's Stowers 3 for 4. So yeah, they all did really well in the gauntlet. Gunnar did get screwed over on his Sporkle, which I've seen every Yak gauntlet. I've never seen a Sporkle that hard. Some people are saying Big Cat threw it and gave Gunnar a hard one on purpose because we knew that he would break the record. So I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, it was an awesome time to watch them. And again, like I've been telling them, I'm like, listen, the Orioles are like the real deal. And now everyone around the office is like, yeah, we love them. And I was like, yeah, I've been trying to tell you this for 3 years, guys. Like, thanks for listening now though. So it was pretty cool to watch. It was a lot of fun.
They all seem like they really had like a great time. Like Gunnar and Stephen Shea are best friends now. Like, they're text buddies, which I think is hilarious. I want that to be a recurring theme on there. Just like the updates of like, hey, texted him this. I need those updates. But Cowser seems like the man. So are you guys like friendly? Because he seems like the coolest dude ever.
Yeah, I mean, we chat here and there off, on Instagram and text and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, his personality, like, he fits in he could be on the yak. Like, he has the perfect personality. You could tell, like, he wasn't shy around a microphone, and he was open to anything. So yeah, I mean, he's an awesome guy. They're all awesome guys. Again, like, you're seeing their personalities. They really enjoy each other. And again, I mean, for the most part, they're just younger, or, early to mid 20s guys. And, that demographic rides with Barstool. So it's like that's just what they read or what they're into or the videos that they watch. But yeah, that's just that you can really see their personalities. And it did seem like they were like, that was legitimately like an awesome time. Like, they had a lot of fun, because you'll see some of the guests go through there and they're kind of just like there for the car wash, and they're kind of tired, and they say the same thing in every interview. But these guys were like, you could tell that they were just having a great old time. And like, again, I think they were kind of like starstruck around Big Cat, which is wild. Like, Gunnar Henderson is like, somebody was like, tell Nick and Big Cat and them that they have like $400 million worth of contracts in that room right now, like in the near future. Like, please let them know that. So yeah, that was pretty funny. It was very, very cool to watch a lot of people's worlds colliding there. So
I'm glad you had a hand to play in getting that all set up, man. That was so much fun to watch on Friday morning.
yeah, that was a good time.
So one of the guys that was there that I'm ready to just make a flat out, just like declaration about, Kyle Stowers. I'm now, if there's a Kyle Stowers fan club, I want to be in it, because I've seen enough. I think he's legit. Was it 3 for 4 with 4 RBIs the other day?
Mhm.
What do you think about his game, and like, how would you kind of arrange this outfield moving forward? Like, he's DHing tonight, Tony's in right. He was moving all around. Like, how do you kind of see the outfield picture shaking out now that Stowers is good?
I mean, I would think, again, against righties, he's got to be in there, and it's tough because, again, they had to have so many of these lefty or switch hitting bats. But again, the easy answer is to DH Santander on a night like tonight, where, again, he's a okay fielder. I'm sure his metrics aren't good, but he seems to get to most balls, and his arm is actually pretty good. Um, but Stowers is just younger, way more athletic, just a better defender. But yeah, I mean, the way he hit on Monday, I mean, you got to have his bat in there. And I mean, I was at the game when he hit his first home run against the White Sox, down 0-2 to Liam Hendricks in the bottom of the ninth. So like, I have a soft spot for him. But yeah, I mean, he's awesome to watch. He kind of plays like Gunnar with his hair on fire. We saw it in St. Louis when he like laced a ball to second base and it kind of hit off the guy and dribbled into the outfield, and he made it all the way to second. And like, that was him showing, Hyde, like, listen, look, I want to be here. I want to play. Like, give me a chance. And he's earned his spots, and he's taken it. And it came at the price of sending Kerstad down, but Kerstad, in the limited chances he had, he didn't really do anything. So they, shit, this game is getting ugly. Sorry. They, but yeah, it's been awesome to watch Stowers. Hopefully he can keep it up. And again, he's just another piece of the young core that's going to help this team hopefully win a World Series.
I just want prolonged Stowers. I know he's been up, like, yeah, I think it was 2022, might have had the most playing time, had like 30 games or something. And then ever since then, it's like he's on the roster, but he doesn't play, or it'd be like once a week. So like, I'm excited for him to just get like semi-regular at bats. But I read an article, I think it was on Camden Chat, of just like the Orioles' original trio of Hayes, Mullins, and Santander in the outfield. Like, those guys were your rock. You pencil those 3 guys in every spot every night. But it's been tough to watch the decline of those guys in recent months.
Mm-hmm.
Whose decline out of those 3 has been the toughest to watch, do you think?
I mean, it could be said. I mean, Austin Hayes was an all-star like 8 months ago, started in the all-star game. But Ced's bat the last year and a half, pretty much. And you could trace it back to him getting hurt, his groin, and he battled with that last year. But again, I mean, his defense is so good, but his bat at times, even, he did triple yesterday. And he's had a couple other big hits this year, but man, does he just look kind of lethargic with the bat, and his swing looks so long, and like, he doesn't really try and go to the opposite way, even though his triple was to the left center yesterday. But his at bats just look blah and gross and just like nasty. So you could say it was him. Hayes, again, I think he'll be fine. He's hit the ball really hard since he's come back, but Tony goes, he does this. He goes into his slumps, but then he'll have a month where he hits 12 home runs or 10 home runs or 9 or something like that. I think for me, it's been said, again, he doesn't look like the same player on offense now. And we saw him 30-30 the one year in 2021 but he just hasn't come close to really replicating that ever since. And I think he could be such a weapon if he tried to get on base more, worked better, worked better at bats, tried to draw walks, stuff like that. He just doesn't do that kind of stuff. So for me, it's definitely said, just because it's been a year and a half of this kind of same kind of thing. So
I would agree. It's hard because you're right, because it's like Said can still like run really fast and he's stealing bags and he's playing Gold Glove outfield defense, and it's like, wow, I love all these things, but you're right. You have to hit him like eighth or ninth in the order, just because he's going to go up there and it's going to be not great at bats every time. Um, a lot of people have talked about like there's moves that have to be made because there's too much talent. Like I feel like Brandon Hyde's always like, I got too many guys, I got to get in there, got to clear some spots out. If there's anybody that like jumps off the page to you as somebody who could be moved, to open up some of these spots, who do you think it would be right now?
I mean, I think it could be any of the outfielders. I would assume a Hayes. He has a little more control than I think Mullins and Tony are both free agents at the end of next year. I don't know when Hayes is up. Hayes may be next year as well. Maybe the year after. I don't know. But I literally could be any of them. Again, I think Hayes would be the most appealing. I don't think you can sign Hayes to an extension because I think his body is just falling apart at like a rapid rate. Again, we see it. I mean, he's like 28, I think 28 or 29, but like he's so beat up, and it was every year. And so he's just always seemed to be battling something. But again, I think you can still kind of flip him and get a good guy back, or, Ramon, I think, is in there too, even though he's not a starter anymore. I think that would be a perfect spot to, again, open up a spot there. And then again, if we're diving down into the minors, it's got to be Connor Norby, who I don't think will ever put on an Orioles uniform. I said the same thing about Jordan Westberg like 2 years ago last year. But Norby, again, Norby would be any 25 other teams' top prospect. And with the Orioles, he's just this forgotten guy who's like setting records in AAA with the amount of games he's played and all that, just like Stowers kind of was too. But again, any of the outfielders, Ramon, just to kind of clear a spot, but everyone else is pretty much the whole infield. I mean, they're producing and they're playing well. So I think the other guys are ones that you could kind of trade, like I said, to open up a spot, but it's really any of the outfielders except, Cowser or any of those young guys. So
we interrupt this episode to bring you a word from the official sponsor of Not For Long Media and the Breaking Bats podcast, the original Fudge Kitchen. It is a staple of the Jersey Shore with 6 locations in Cape May, Wildwood, North Wildwood, Stone Harbor, and Ocean City. The original Fudge Kitchen makes all of their fudge in store, guaranteeing a delicious product, so stop by and let them know that Not For Long Media and Breaking Bats sent you. Check them out online at fudgekitchens.com, as they are shipping fudge and sweet treats all across the country. Now back to the episode. Yeah, I think you're right. I've been very pleasantly surprised with Jorge Mateo. I know there was a prolonged period where if you go on Twitter, you'll just be like, every Orioles fan's like, send this guy to the moon. He can't play. I think that's kind of helped soften the blow of Jackson Holliday not being quite there yet. What have you thought about our guy Jorge Mateo?
No, you nailed it. I mean, he's been awesome. His numbers he's not hitting 330 with 8 home runs or whatever, but he's playing incredible defense at second base. And every time he gets on, if he walks or gets a single, it's a double. He's one of the guys who we saw it in 2014 with the Royals and Gerard Dyson and those other guys. But if they get on, they're going to steal, and there's nothing you can do about it, especially with these new rules. You get them to throw over twice, and then it's like, all right, well, good luck, boys, because I'm going on this one. And he really found his role. And if you remember, it was just him and Gunnar who really did well in the the tiny sample size that was the playoffs last year and versus Texas. So he's been awesome. And again, I think this is his role, where he'll play against lefties. Maybe not every day against righties. I know he's in there tonight against Bello and Boston, but he's awesome. He's played really well, and I love seeing it. And it seems like he's really worked on it on his at bats in the offseason. Last year, you were seeing just a lot of 3-pitch at bats, 4-pitch at bats, where he was swinging it. Strike 1 was a slider in the dirt, strike 2 was a fastball up, and then strike 3 was he was swinging at something in the dirt again. I was like, all right, well, that at bat did nothing. You're not seeing a lot of that this year. So again, you can tell he worked his ass off in the offseason, and I'm happy for him. Again, I was one of the guys who was like, if you can't lay down a bunt, if you're not going to be able to get on base, you don't help this team. And he's found a way to get on base, and his defense, like I said, is just it's on another planet. He's just so good. So he's been awesome to watch this year. It's been a lot of fun watching him play well.
It's funny because like it's rare you hear a second baseman described as like rangy. That's all. Like yesterday during the game, they're just like, he's got so much range at second. That's never usually a position where you're like, damn, I love for my second baseman to chew up some ground. It's usually you put
Exactly.
like some little tiny guy over there and hope for the best. But it's been cool to watch his like stable, like even if we get league average, like production from at the plate from Jorge Mateo, I'll take that. But the guy he's up there at second most of the time instead of Jackson Holiday, like he, got off on the wrong foot here. Even Cowser did too in his first like stint in majors. Like I think it was like The Athletic did a piece about the difference between AAA and the big leagues and why guys will tear it up, like Colt Keith and Jackson Churrillo and all these guys, and they'll come up and be like, "Ew, what?" Do you think we as fans should be more patient with some of these these top prospects, just given the fact that like we don't do 6-game series? Like it's the AAA baseball is so much different than Major League Baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I mean, I'm one of the guys. I was, beating the Jackson, beating that drum all off season, and like everybody else was. But yeah, again, I mean, we have to remember he's 20 years old. Like that, he's very, very, very young. Like that is, it's very hard to be good. Again, being good in AAA is one thing, but the step up from AAA to the majors is incredibly different. It's just you can't compare it to anything else. So like nobody should ever be surprised when guys come up and struggle. I mean, hell, Mike Trout was sent down. Corbin Burns was sent down. Gunnar, people wanted Gunnar Henderson sent down. Adley struggled. Colton struggled. Like you look at around, all of these guys struggle. Like it's not people act like it was like Jackson Holiday was the only number one prospect to come up and struggle. Like, no, it literally happens all the time. Like guys flame out all the time. Jackson will not flame out. He's too good to flame out. But yeah, I mean, again, we do have to kind of pump the brakes, and it's fun to, drive the Jackson bandwagon and have all the tweets about him. And again, just kind of have fun on Twitter. But at the end of the day, again, it's like, you got to remember this kid is 20 years old. Like 2 years ago, he was in high school. So yeah, we have to be a little more patient with him. And again, he'll come up. He had a home run tonight, leadoff home run. Like he'll be fine. He'll be hitting, and we'll go from there. But yeah, it's a bump in the road, just like it happens to a lot of other guys. So not worried long term at all. But it would have been nice to see him up here and hit, because how excited we were, and how the ballpark was electric, but it just didn't work out that way, just like it hasn't worked out for a couple of the other guys.
Yeah, you're right. He's too good to be this bad for that long.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize the stat padding that goes on in AAA. Like, remember when the Tides played the Charlotte Knights and scored like 30 a game?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like that we kind of have to put some of these AAA numbers in perspective when we look, and it's like the Orioles AAA team is as a team average of 600, and Connor Norby has never not been on base. It's like, well, depends on who you're playing that week. It's just wild to think that their schedule is so different.
Yeah, and again, like the pitching in AAA, like the whole thing was like Jackson, he struggles against lefties. It's like there are no good lefties really in the minor. If you're a good lefty, you're coming up to the big. It's like they need, it's the difference in quality between like a quote good lefty in AAA and like an okay lefty in the majors. I mean, it's crazy. Like these guys, again, you just really don't see like top quality lefties in AAA. So it's hard for him to kind of get adjusted to that. And obviously he struggled on it. But again, it's tough because there really you can face down in AAA where you're like, all right, now I'm getting a taste of what the big leagues is like. The bigs is the only place to get that kind of experience. So it's just tough.
No doubt. I wanted to stick on the pitching because I feel like the state of the Orioles rotation in particular is so fascinating to me. They're down to Means, they're down to Kramer or Wells. Guys like Cole Irvin and Albert Suarez are forced into duty now. Like, how do you see the state of the Orioles rotation moving forward? Is this a Cade Povich call up alert? Is that something we're looking at, or maybe an outside move? What do you think is going to happen with the starting staff here?
I think we'll see Povich at some point. I don't know when. I know he's been chucking it really, really well down there, and he's not walking anyone, and that was kind of his big thing. So I do think we see him at some point this year. Again, I don't know when. But I think we do. And again, I think a trade happens too. I think they need a bullpen arm. I know we're talking about starters, but I can see them also making a move starter. John Means news, it sucks because he's such easy guy to root for, and he's just so fun. And he gave us probably the top moment to root for in that whole rebuild with the no hitter, and so that was a nice rallying point for us fans and everything. But that injury sucks. It's tough. It's the same elbow, obviously. You just don't know how he's going to react from that or how he's going to come back. So, and the Wells stuff stinks too, because we saw him, last year when he got tired and kind of had to work him back up. So that seems like that's what they're doing again this year. He just started throwing again recently. But Kramer, it sounds like he's going to be back. He should be fine. I think they said he was already playing catch, or he's going to play catch tomorrow. So that I'm not worried about. That kind of seemed to me like a little Grayson kind of reset, give him a break. But again, it helps when you got Carvin pitching his ass off and Albert Suarez doing whatever the Hyde in the club needs of him. But I've been very surprised with the staff and what they've been able to do this year, and it's been fun to watch them chuck. But as we're seeing now, you can never have enough arms. You want as many starters' arms as you can get. But it has been fun watching the guys go out there and throw it this year.
Again, maybe that's where we take some of that infield depth or outfield depth, and even just trade that, package a couple guys up, get Connor Norby out. Because I remember Norby's tweet where he's like, "Year 3 in Norfolk, let's get it." It's like, been there too long, man. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, but again, at the end of the day, like I've talked to some guys at Norfolk, and they all get it. Like they know, like listen, there's way too many. Like Connor Norby knows he's not going to play over Jordan Westberg or Gunnar Henderson or any of these guys. That's why they have him in the corner outfielders. But like he gets it. It's not like they're taking it personal. Like, oh, Mike Elias, he's not calling me up or whatever. Like he gets it. It's a business, and he knows that he'll probably be traded. And again, him having this kind of mindset is good, and that's kind of what you need again in this role. And he'll be fine. And I'm assuming he'll go to a place that really wants him, and he'll swing the twig there, as the guys say down in Norfolk.
Well, look at Joey Ortiz. He's killing it right now in Milwaukee.
Yep.
That's a guy who was a classic. Like, where the hell is he going to play? And now he's like their everyday third baseman and killing it.
Exactly. Again, a guy who there's just no room for him here. Same thing with Hernandez, in Oakland. He was playing well until he sprained his ankle. But again, a guy who the Orioles had, he was never going to play over Gunnar or Westberg or Jackson, in the future. And they had to move him. And again, those guys are like, I get it. That's fine. Send me to a place where I will play. Again, they're not taking it personal. They know what they're getting into, and they're like, whatever. I'm here to help the team until I'm not. So we'll go from there.
If we went into a postseason series with our 1 through 3 in the rotation, is that the best 1 through 3 in the American League right now, you think?
It could be. I mean, Seattle, we saw those pitchers here a couple weeks ago. Seattle's very good. Cleveland's been surprising. Trying to think of who else. Obviously, the Yankees, those guys, they've got some guys who are throwing it too, with Cole not even back yet. But yeah, I mean, you would be hard pressed to find a better 1 through 3 than a Burns, Grayson, Bradish, or however you want to order them. And then again, with an Irvin coming out of the bullpen, with a Kramer coming out of the bullpen, with guys like that. So yeah, I would take that 3 pretty much against. Trying to think who else. There isn't anybody else really that's jumping to mind. Yeah, I mean, it's a damn good 1, 2, 3. It's a very fun 1, 2, 3 to have too.
No doubt. I wanted to get your take on Craig Kimbrell and really just closers in general, because there's a lot of things that work against these guys, especially if you pitch 1 inning at a time. Like I'm a Rays guy, so I'll watch Pete Fairbanks and he'll have 10 scoreless outings in a row, and then he'll give up 2 runs, and his ERA will balloon, and people will call for his job, and it's like, oh, come on, guys. I feel like Craig kind of had a little stretch there of that.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think fans are so quick to turn on these guys when, like I said, you have 10 scoreless in a row, and it's like, oh, here we go. Here's a tough one. What do you think's going on with the closers?
It's just, again, I mean, it's all over. Mariano Rivera is the greatest closer of all time. We'll never see somebody better than him. He blew Game 7 of the World Series. It happens, people. It happens. It literally happened. That's the thing. And we got so spoiled with Felix last year. But again, I mean, you remember when Felix gave up the home run in New York to Judge. There were people who were like, he can't pitch in the bright lights. Can't do it. Nope, can't do it. It's like he was having one of the best closing seasons ever. Again, Zach Britton. We saw Zach Britton have incredible numbers here. Guess what? He blew saves. That happened. So, yeah, you're never going to be perfect. And again, everything these guys do is under a microscope. And like, yes, they have to get 3 outs, and those 3 outs are just like the 3 outs in the first inning. They just happen to be at the end of the game when again, everything is looked at under a microscope. So it is tough because, again, like you said, 10 or 12 scoreless appearances in a row, and then you give up one and you lose the game. And it's like, this guy stinks. Get him out of here. And again, I was guilty of the Kimbrel thing. I was at 2 of those games that he blew. But yeah, I mean, he went through a tough stretch, and you're seeing it now with Diaz up in New York. And I mean, Diaz was crying in front of his locker, in front of the media. Like, it's crazy. And I don't know. I mean, it's wild to see it because, like you said, you look around baseball this year and like there aren't those absolute, Duran up in Minnesota, he's blown saves this year. It's happening. These guys are so good at hitting now, and the pitchers are very, very good too. But like you said, Fairbanks was so lights out. And then you look at it last year in the game where the Orioles clinched the playoff spot. What did he do? Like, he was the one that kind of started that rally where the Orioles got going, and Adley hit the home run off him, I think. And they kind of went from there. But it happens. These guys can't be on every single night. So it's, people, we act so shocked when a guy blows a save. And it's like, well, we shouldn't be, because that happens. It's very hard to get these guys out 3 times in a row, without giving up a run sometimes. So yeah, everyone on Twitter, and myself included, everyone just needs to take a chill pill. Like, everyone needs to step back. And I do think, I've said it before, I think a lot of it is Orioles fans who have been Ravens fans for so long. And every game in a football season is so big and it means so much. And every football game is the biggest thing right now. Like, this is the moment. And in baseball, that's not how it is. Like, a game on May 28th, yeah, you want to win, but like, if the Orioles win, it's not like, man, we got to get this thing going on the right path, because they could get it going ugly. You lose 3 games in the NFL in a row. It's like, well, guys, we should probably start looking at mock drafts. This is just not going to be our year. You lose again. The Orioles, I mean, it sucks because their season ended apparently last Wednesday when they got swept for the first time in 2 years. So that's what I was told. So, again, everyone is so wrapped up in this, like, you have to win every game. You absolutely have to. It's just, you can't think like that in baseball. So again, when it comes to the closers, it's like, Lamar doesn't, throws an interception on a fourth quarter comeback. And it's like, yeah, that happens. That's what happens. Like, the great ones do that. That is exactly what happens in sports. So everyone just needs to calm down, myself included. But again, it is nice to see Kimbrel he's kind of reeled it back in, and he's pitching well again, and they're winning ball games. So
that was such a brilliant take. I've never heard it compared like that, but you're so right about different mindsets in different sports and how they don't correlate at all.
mm-hmm.
Football, life and death. Like, that's why there's only a small number of games, but baseball, you dust yourself off, you get back out on the bump again tomorrow. Like,
yeah, and
dang.
10 baseball games is pretty much equal to 1 football game. There's 16 games. Again, there's 162 games in baseball. So, it's like, if you lose 1 in football, it's almost like losing 10 in a row in baseball. It's just like, you can't think about baseball like in the football mindset, because it's impossible to get through a season like that.
I'm guilty of saying there's a lot of ball left when teams struggle early, because there usually is. Or you'll see a lot of times online where it's like a team has like a really, really good stretch out of nowhere. It's like, oh, San Francisco Giants World Series champs, huh? 8-2 in the last 10. Kidding me? Or Dodgers lost 5 in a row. It's time to pack it in. Like, that's just what we do.
Yep.
I'm wondering though, what's like the metric of like, at what point in the season is there not a lot of ball left, and when should we shift from saying, oh, it's still early, to they just might be bad?
I think it's somewhere around, like, it's usually 4th of July. Like, it's kind of right around there. Cause I mean, you remember in 2018, the Orioles, I mean, they were in first place, I think, at the beginning of May or end of May. And then that was the year that everything just exploded and nothing went right for them. And they finished, they were awful the rest of the year. But yeah, I think it's somewhere right around 4th of July. Cause again, you've played a significant amount of games, like 60 or 70 games or whatever. So it's like that kind of is, that's what you are. And again, there have been some kind of one-off seasons. I mean, the Nats were, what was it, 19-37 or 19-31 or whatever it was. Yeah. So again, they, even there, they were able to turn it around and get going, but it can happen. But again, I think that's a good barometer, or a good date, I guess, to judge teams and grade teams and stuff like that. So I think July 4th is usually right around that time.
Mark your calendars. Yeah, you are what your record says you are. I like
Yep,
that.
yep. Eat a hot
Um,
dog. Eat a hot dog off the grill, and then you check the standings and be like, all right, now I know where we are. So
yep. There it turns out the Pittsburgh Pirates aren't good.
yeah,
So
shot at the 2 years in a row, right?
they Pirates will start red hot the first 2 months of every season, and they'll break my heart every year. It's the same thing. Um, I wanted to end with a few AL East notes. I'm looking around. I went to my first Boston Red Sox game over the weekend. It's awesome. I can see why people are obsessed with it. I'm stunned that they're 500. Like the way that you listen to people in Boston talk about the Red Sox, it's as if they haven't won a game this year. They have been surprisingly not bad to this point, but there's parts that are really bad. What have you thought about the way the Red Sox have gone about their business? And how funny is it when Jared Carrabis says, "Protect your peace, turn this game off"?
Yeah, I mean, again, he said it yesterday. Like, good for him. I think you got to do that, and don't let a game ruin your Memorial Day or whatever. I agree with him there. But their pitching has been awesome. I mean, I'm watching it tonight. Brian Bello is striking everybody out. He looks good. He's given up 3 runs, but they're up 4-3. But their pitching has really surprised guys. Everybody else in baseball thought that their pitching was going to be terrible. Again, they lost Pavetta. I think it was Pavetta. Yeah, and they lost a couple other guys. Who was it? Who's the guy? Giolito. He was out before. He didn't even make a start for them. So yeah, I mean, they got hit hard by the injury bug, and they're still kind of hanging around 500. So their lineup is not threatening at all. I mean, Devers is still very good. I don't know what's really gotten into him. I know he just had the stretch like 2 weeks ago last week where he hit a home run in 6 straight games, I think it was. And Tyler O'Neill was hitting everything over the monster the first 2 weeks. So they have kind of cooled down, but yeah, I mean, they're playing much better than anybody thought they would. So credit to them. And I think that a lot of that is Cora. Cora's a really good manager. The guys really like him. They play hard for him. Again, I just don't think they don't have the staying power. July 4th, I think you'll start to see them like kind of fall off and kind of fall back a little bit. But I mean, they're playing a lot better than anyone really expected. They tried to make some moves in the offseason. It just didn't really happen. But they're playing well, and like I said, they're beating the Orioles tonight. But did they get it handed to them yesterday. But that's baseball. But yeah, they've played above a lot of people's expectations so far this year.
Absolutely. You're right. You're right about the lineup part because it's funny. You'll look at like the bottom half of the order, and I'm
You're like,
so
who are
guilty of
these
this. Where
guys?
I literally don't like Hamilton.
Yes,
No,
I literally yesterday I said to my dad, I go, "Who the hell is this guy? Shortstop for the Red Sox? Some guy Hamilton?" I go, "I don't know who this guy is." Like,
no,
no offense to
no
him.
idea. Dom Smith is your first baseman. Like
Yeah.
it's a weird hodgepodge of veterans on cheap deals and
Yep.
young dudes.
Yep.
But you're right. Somehow they're putting up 4 against the Birds already tonight. So,
Yeah.
Also Tyler O'Neill is hilarious. I think he went through a stretch where he's like 0 for 13 with like 10 strikeouts. So, and then he got hurt mysteriously. Maybe it was like Ubaldo in the parking lot. Maybe that was one of those deals.
Rolled his ankle or something like that in the pothole.
The last one is I love stirring the pot with Yankees fans online. I think you probably do a little bit too. We might have that in common. I did a video about Giancarlo magically hitting around 250 this year and how it's like, wow. And people did not think that was funny. They're like, that's the league average. Like, that's a really good thing that he's hitting, that, makes 30 million a year and is hitting 240. Because that's where the bar is for Stan, apparently. But when you look at this Yankees team, do they scare you?
Yeah, I mean, you just look at the last 3 weeks of them. I mean, ever since they left Baltimore, Judge has been red hot. I mean, he's quite literally been the best player in baseball since they left Baltimore. All he does is hit home runs and doubles now. I mean, every hit's an extra base hit. And again, Stan's playing very well. He has a role. He knows what he's doing, and his role is to hit a home run. So, like, yeah, it's especially when the weather gets warm and the ball flies out in that ballpark and it flies out down here, and these small ballparks in the AL East, like, it's scary when they get going like that. And again, it's like they're winning the games that Garrett Cole was supposed to start. They replaced him with Heel, and he's winning those games. So it's like these were the games they were supposed to lose. Like, they weren't supposed to be in these games. And now he's going to come back in a couple weeks, and it's like, man, if they add him, I mean, who are they going to take out of that rotation? People were saying it's going to be Nestor. Nestor is like a 3.3 ERA. They may have to move him to the bullpen. So yeah, I mean, they're playing well. They're pitching well. They're hitting the hell out of the ball. So again, take away Judge and Stanton. Nobody in that lineup really. Glaber doesn't really do it for you anymore. Verdugo's a really good player, but Yeah, I mean, yeah, bottom line, they do scare me. Again, they're playing above their head too. They're playing much better than I thought they would, than a lot of people thought they would this year. But I don't know. Those guys, they can't seem to stay healthy. So that's always a thing to pay attention to. Giancarlo could do pull a hamstring or quad or something like that, and Judge is good for something every now and then. So it'll be interesting to watch. It should be a very, very fun summer of Orioles Yankees if these two teams are both just kind of trucking along like this.
I will admit it's not ideal. I spent all off season talking about how bad Stroman and Rodon would be.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so it hasn't. But here's what I keep telling myself, and I'm not scared by the Yankees at all. Not even a little bit. They have a bunch of number 3 starters that are all punching above their weight class at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just what I keep telling myself. It's probably not at all going to be what ends up happening. Like Clark Schmidt could probably finish with Cy Young votes this year. Like that's just probably what's going to end up happening.
Yeah.
But the lineup's hilarious because like I'll take my chances with Verdugo and Rizzo and Glaber and Oswaldo. Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel very comfortable once you get through the top 3 of Soto, Stanton and Judge. Like
I didn't even mention Soto. Yeah, again, it's a terrifying threesome they have there. But yeah, you're right. Again, nobody else outside of that is like DJ LeMahieu isn't like prime DJ LeMahieu, and he's hurt and he's not even playing. They don't have much outside of those guys, but those 3 guys have been carrying them for 40, 50 games now. So that's the scary part to me.
Yeah. So again, these are the demented thoughts I have rolling inside my brain just to, rationalize why the Yankees aren't very good. The last thing I had, it was just like, how funny is it that the Yankees so their owner has went through a 180 where he's like, don't be surprised if Juan Soto's in pinstripes forever. And then it was like a week later, he's like, we're actually dirt poor. Like, I don't know if we're going to be able to make rent next month. How funny is that?
It's just, I mean, it's the Yankees have lost their fastball. Like again, my dad's a Yankee fan, so I've been accustomed to the trash talk over the years, and it's like, I mean, if George Steinbrenner was still alive, Manny would be a Yankee, Bryce would be a Yankee, Blake Snell would be a Yankee, and Aaron Nola would be a Yankee. Any of these big name guys, the second they hit free agency, he would give them a check and say, write whatever you want on there, and we'll see you at spring training. That's not how they do it now. They have the luxury tax and they stay under that. And they have to, like, they can't. So I was watching, I forget who it was, but there was a TikTok and the guy was like, Scott Boras, he kind of made himself look like an ass this offseason with, his big 4. And none of them got what anybody thought. And it took them all a long time to sign. And you're seeing it now with, Montgomery fired him. Blake Snell is garbage. All these guys who, are Boras guys signed super late, and someone was like, now that Ohtani has the biggest deal, he's going to make it a point because Boras always has to have the biggest deal. He has to be number 1. He has to be top average and have the most overall. So he knows that Soto is his golden goose right now. So he knows that like that guy is going to get me 750, 775 or whatever. Yankees aren't paying that. There's no way they're going to pay that. They can't pay that. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. And I hope that they don't go 750 or 775 or 701 or whatever for Soto, but it'll be very interesting to see what they do in the offseason because again, I think they have lost their fastball. And, again, you're kind of seeing it with those comments. Like George would have never made those comments. He would have been like, nope, don't care. Soto wants to be a Yankee. We'll trade the Statue of Liberty for him. Like we will find a way to do it. if they want, Madison Square Garden, I will talk to Dolan. They will get it. Like that's happening. So.
That's such a great way of putting it. Yeah, they have lost their fastball. It's no longer the evil empire because I was reading. I think it was like Steinbrenner later on in those comments recently where he was like, we're trying to focus more on development. Like, look, some of our homegrown guys, like Volpe and Heel and all these guys, like that came from development, and we need a good mix of blah 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 blah. It's just like this is awesome because like or it could also be a little bit of like maybe they asked Boras and Soto like, hey, would you take some money now? And he got rejected. And it's like, well, screw you guys. I didn't like you anyway. It's like when you ask a girl out and you get rejected, it's like, oh, she sucked.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway. Like they're the bad guy. They're the ones that said no. Like you did your job and you asked them. Like I said this about Manny and the Orioles. Like Duquette should have just gone to Manny and been like, we'll give you 10 years, $250 million. He'd say no. And and then Dan Duquette could have said, well, hey, look, I asked him. I tried to get him to go. If you're the ugliest kid in school, you still have to ask the hottest girl and just be like, she's the dumb one. I asked her. She said no. I tried. I don't know what you guys want me to do. So same thing. That's what they should do with Soto. Offer him $500 million. He'll laugh at that, and then they'll go, "Hey, we offered him $500 million." You say that to your fans, hey, I tried to offer him 500 million. He said no. He's the idiot for turning that down. And then they're like, yeah, you know what? You tried. So that's exactly what I would do.
Nats did it. Yeah, they like, would you take
Yeah, we're like
440? And they're like,
450, right? Yeah,
yeah,
something like that.
and they're just like, no. It's like, hey, well, we tried. So,
440 is a lot, that's a lot of money. So again, it's like he's the one who turned it down. We tried. We stuck our neck out there, He didn't want it. So that's just what you got to do.
God, yeah. I can't wait for baseball media in the offseason just to talk nothing about, or just like nothing about anybody else and just everything about Juan Soto for like 3 straight months or whatever.
It'll be what they did with Ohtani this year, but just copy and paste and put Juan Soto in there, and that's exactly what it'll be.
God, I don't even want to think about that. Dude, this has been incredible. Thank you as always for coming on 4 times. The 5th time we give out letter jackets.
Nice.
So, keep an eye out for that in the mail coming to Glen Burnie soon.
Hell yeah, I appreciate that.
But you're the man, Eric. Like I said, check him out, barstoolsports.com, Exit 52 podcast, the Center Field Bar, Jimmy Seafood, just, around Baltimore. But
Yep.
you're the man. Thanks for your time.
Appreciate you.